If you've been following my Dropshot series, or even if this is your first video, you've probably already got a handle on the basics, the setup, and how to fish it. But what actually matters most in dropshot fishing? When I first started fishing, I believed a better rod and a better reel would guarantee better results. Of course, having the right gear for the setup does matter, but over time I realized that belief wasn't consistently proven on the water. While premium gear can improve performance and satisfaction, the hook remains your first and most critical connection to the fish. The gear changed, but the principle didn't. And in dropshot fishing, the hook matters more than anything else. Let's break down dropshot hooks, why they're different, how to choose them, and how they interact with your line, bait, and setup. So why use a dropshot hook instead of an offset hook or any other hook? In dropshot fishing, it's not about power, it's finesse fishing. It's about how easily the fish can inhale the bait. And a dedicated dropshot hook lets the worm move more naturally in the water. That natural movement makes the bait easier for the fish to fully commit. Now, if you're fishing deep or doing vertical dropshot, it's a different story. That's power dropshot, which I'm not covering in this video. So in this video, I'm focusing on why the hook itself matters in finesse fishing, and not comparing brands. People often ask why dropshot fishing uses such small hooks. Why not something stronger? Why not a worm hook, a bait hook, or an octopus hook? The answer isn't about strength or convenience. There are a few reasons dropshot hooks are different. It's about what the fish feels, or doesn't feel. With a small, thin hook, the bait just slides into the fish's mouth. Sometimes it even swallows it whole. The moment it feels something unnatural, it spits it out in a split second. When choosing your hook size, balance is key. As a good starting point, a size 8 hook usually pairs well with 2 to 3 inch worms, while a size 6 is a safe bet for anything up to 5 inches. But here's the catch. Hook sizes aren't standardized across brands. Because there's no universal sizing law, a number one from one manufacturer can look completely different from another. And each hook has its own characteristics. So, instead of strictly following the number on the package, trust your eyes and focus on the physical hook gap. You want a gap that's slightly wider than the worm itself. This simple visual check ensures the point clears the lure and penetrates the lip for a solid hook set every time. Compared to most worm hooks, dropshot hooks are thinner. That thinner wire makes penetration easier, and the bait moves more naturally. Thicker worm hooks, on the other hand, make the bait less lively and the hook set harder. Worm hooks are thicker and bulkier, so they're usually heavier. That extra weight changes how the worm moves and adds water resistance. The bait feels unnatural to the fish. The longer you cast, the shallower the angle between line and bait. That lower angle, combined with the extra weight, makes the worm drag along the bottom and get snagged much more easily. Line choice matters too. Thicker line is heavier and sinks faster. That works against the worm's natural action. When everything gets heavier, the hook, the line, the bait, finesse fishing becomes less effective. So this is why a dropshot hook matters. It's light, thin, and open. You don't need a hard hook set. Just a gentle pull is enough. That makes hook sets easier, especially with spinning tackle and lighter setups. It also gives you more rigging options. You can hook the worm through the nose, the mid-body like a wacky style, or get more creative with it. Even if the worm looks bent during rigging, once it hits the water, it straightens out and keeps its natural shape. Of course, dropshot hooks aren't perfect. Because they're thin, a hard hook set with heavy line can bend or even break cheap hooks. From my own experience, this usually isn't an issue with well-made dropshot hooks, but it's definitely something to keep in mind. I'm not naming brands here, but in general, higher-end hooks tend to be thinner, stronger, and finished with extremely sharp points. The small line eye also limits you to lighter line, usually under 12-pound test. Once you go heavier than that, tying knots like a Dropshot knot or a Palomar knot can become difficult or unreliable. And since it's an open hook, snagging is more likely. As I mentioned in part 3 of this series, you might also run into line twist, a common headache in dropshot. Some anglers use swivel eye hooks to fix this. They're convenient, but remember, extra hardware adds weight and water resistance. If you want to keep it strictly finesse, a standard hook is still your better bet. Here's a practical tip from my own experience. If you've landed several fish or just fought a big one, don't just fidget with the knot or try to force the hook back into that perfect 90-degree position. If the angle is already off, that knot has already taken its fair share of stress. The safest option? Retie. Because retying takes just a couple of minutes, but losing the fish you've been waiting for, that stays with you a whole lot longer. And here's a quick setup check. Always ensure your hook point is facing up. If it's sagging or upside down, you're losing that crucial advantage of the drop shot. For the 90-degree knot, there's a step-by-step guide available on my channel. I don't think we should ever limit our imagination when it comes to fishing. In this video, we broke down the strengths and limitations of dedicated drop shot hooks. But when the cover gets thicker and the fish call for heavier line, a Nico-style hook can be a smarter solution. It gives you the strength of a heavier setup while still keeping that finesse, low-weight profile we've been talking about. Let me guess, expensive rod, smooth reel, but what about the hook? Drop a comment. I'd love to hear from you. That's it. See you in the next one. Happy fishing.